Hello everyone. This is Anton, and you're on the Blackroom channel. In this video, we have another top 5 videos to test the sound in your home theater. And make sure to watch this video until the end, because at the end I'll tell you how you can get those very top 5 videos we're going to talk about today. Let's get started. Let's go. You can hear arrows flying right across the whole room like this. Here we insert an explosion. Lawlessness is probably not the right word, is it? Guys, it's chaos. How many Spider-Men are there? Damn, I want more. The first video I want to start this top with is, of course, The Greatest Showman, the song Never Enough. That very woman whose video is played at every exhibition and whose voice comes from every home theater showroom in the world. And it's a great video to get your ears ready for more dynamic fragments, for more dynamic passages from other movies. Because here, the sound gradually builds up. First, we need to hear Hugh Jackman speak as he announces Rebecca Ferguson's entrance on stage. And this voice should be deep enough, yet very detailed and at the same time very natural. And what else is important to hear here? It's important to hear the ambience of this concert hall. This is a theater where even the slightest rustles have been recorded. There are so many nuances in this recording, you wouldn't believe it. You can hear everything there. You can hear the noise, how people move their feet a little. How the neighbors start whispering, the wives of the main character in the neighboring box. You can clearly hear their words. What they're doing, how they're commenting. How suddenly Hugh Jackman became our master of ceremonies. An enormous number of nuances. And this, in fact, can tell you, first of all, how quiet it is in your movie theater. If you can hear these little things, all the nuances. Secondly, it shows how well your audio system conveys these details. Here, it's very quiet. Most importantly, close the doors and play this track, and listen carefully. And then Rebecca comes out on stage and starts singing, and oh my god, how that female vocal is recorded. It has everything, depth, and especially the brightness of the mid-range. And you know where the female vocal range sits. If she sings and you believe that it's really her singing right there on the screen, then most likely, your system is set up right. Everything is fine with the audio path, the audio system, the speakers, and their setup and calibration. But if you don't believe what's happening on stage, then there's something in your system that needs to be adjusted. And when the orchestra starts playing, accompanying the singer, you can feel the full depth of the bass, the entire foundation and solidity of a real symphony orchestra with double basses. And you also believe that you are right there in that hall. That's why this is a super cool video to start demonstrating your audio system, to warm up a little, to train your ears, and at the same time to already hear many aspects of how well your audio system handles delicate material. Video number 2, War of the Worlds. This is that very moment when those tripods emerge from the ground and start, well, doing who knows what to the poor Americans. Here, first and foremost, I would pay attention to the detail in the sound. The detail, like when glass shatters, when cracks form in the ground and in buildings, when windows burst and shards fly across all the channels. By the way, this film has been remastered in 4K. I'm talking specifically about this version. And here, the bass is a whole separate story. I'll talk about it a bit later. First, let's talk about the detail, like how the glass shatters. You need to believe it. It shouldn't be so loud that it makes you want to turn away or lower the volume. If it's really the sound of glass breaking, then it should sound like glass breaking. And you can hear how those shards scatter across the asphalt. There are so many subtle details in these scenes. Pay attention to them. The next aspect this video tests is dynamics. How well your system can suddenly reproduce a loud sound. An example of this dynamic range is probably, first and foremost, when the tripod somewhere underground throws a car. At first it slides down under the ground, then it tosses it out, and the car crashes roof first onto another parked car. Here, there's just a sudden, loud sound, just bam, everything flies apart, and it's genuinely startling. And if, in your case, the car just fell like that, it means your system isn't capable of sharply reproducing that burst. That moment is genuinely startling, it's really loud. Another aspect in this clip is, of course, the bass. Right from the start, when cracks begin to spread across the ground, when the earth starts moving like this all around under the tripod, and it collapses downward, when the church slides like that, a whole section of the church, when the ground is literally giving way beneath your feet, there's this deep infrasonic, this infrabass. Well, friends, just come to the showroom Blackroom to hear it for yourselves, because as far as I remember, there's sound in that moment going as low as 10 Hz, and you really believe that right beneath you, the ground is crumbling away. The bass is super deep, super low. You feel it with your whole body. You can't even hear it with your ears anymore. It's infrasound, definitely below 20 Hz. Next, of course, is the moment when a hand, or maybe it's the leg, of that three-leafed creature comes out of the ground like this. Bam! And right then, everything shakes all the way down to the lowest frequencies. And the next bass moment, of course, is when they pull out their plasma guns, those things they use to start shooting and incinerating the entire American population. It's exactly with these shots that there's a simultaneous, very, very low sound. So it's not just a simple buzz, but a buzz with bass. It shakes your whole body like this. So if you're not feeling the shake, buy more subwoofers, set up several of them, link them together, calibrate, and fine-tune them. There's something wrong with your subwoofers, because what's there is real, heavy stuff. And when a hero is running at the end, when everything is exploding, and houses are flying past him, there's this monumental sound, the orchestra is playing, and the subwoofers support it from below so well that you feel like you're running with him, and it's genuinely scary. That's why this is an amazing scene to really assess the cinematic quality of your sound system. And now we move on to number 3. You've probably noticed that the clips I'm sharing today aren't the newest. They're not from films released in 2023. Yes, because honestly, in 2023, I haven't felt like cutting out any scenes from the movies I've watched so far. Yes, you might say, what about Oppenheimer? What about the Trinity explosion? Well, I haven't watched it yet, and besides, it's only 5.1 sound, and sure, there will probably be some awesome bass that shakes all the walls. But you already know that perfectly well. So, let's just check out Oppenheimer on our own. If needed, we can cut out a little clip from it ourselves. Our number 3 is Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, Season 2, and the clip called Greek Fire. You probably know it too, you've seen it, you've heard it. It's also an amazing clip to showcase the dynamics of your system and its bass capabilities. It's recorded in Dolby Atmos. Here, you can hear arrows flying right across the whole room. But that's not the main thing about this clip. For example, in Spider-Man, Far From Home, which we featured in the previous episode of this series. But let's get back to Game of Thrones. When they launch those arrows, and the arrows land in the ships, and then the ignition happens. First of all, when the ignition happens, that's where the dynamics come in, and you can really hear how all your surround channels perform. Sudden loud sounds. A single ignition that spreads throughout the whole room, and then there's this explosion. This is the moment, friends, when you need to hold on to your chairs, recliners, sofas, or stools, whatever you're sitting on. Because you'll rarely find such deep bass with such a powerful, dynamic impact anywhere else. And these explosions happen one after another, shown from different camera angles, and each time they're enhanced with new bass rumbles. This is a very impressive clip. If you have a great bass setup, a good bass system, you can really show it off. Especially if someone comes over and says you don't have enough bass, just play this clip, it'll be more than enough for them. Our number 4 is James Bond, No Time to Die. This is a film that won the Oscar for Best Sound. That's the actual category name, Best Sound. It's an amazing movie where you can really hear so much, if your system is up to the task, of course. And in this top list, we have a new clip that has now become a regular part of every demonstration I do when I show our home theater to clients or guests. It's the car chase with the Aston Martin DB6, when James is escaping a pursuit somewhere in Italy, in Tuscany, through the narrow Italian streets. Oh my God, there are so many nuances and little details you can hear and that were recorded in this scene. Honestly, I would personally give the Oscar to the sound designers who created this audio. First of all, when James drives the car down the stairs, he scrapes the side of the car against some stone wall, and that sound of metal grinding, it's not unpleasant, but you really feel it everywhere you hear it. You can just sense how it's scraping. Well, at least on the Alcons, you can hear it fantastically well. Every little sound, for example, when the phone rings, you can clearly hear the phone ringing inside the purse. It's rendered so well there, really detailed. When they're talking during the race, they're also speaking to each other, with the main heroine. And their voices are distinctly audible. Friends, this is very important here. If you can't hear it like that, then there's something wrong with the calibration, the audio path, the speakers, I don't know, or even with the acoustic setup, because it really has a big impact on the clarity of speech. Here, you can truly hear everything. But your system needs to be of a certain level for you to hear. For example, how during this chase James Bond and his beloved are discussing some stories. Every button, every switch that James activates in his magical car, yes, it's not an ordinary one, it's packed with features. They are all distinctly audible. You can hear everything, even how the bombs spill out onto the asphalt. They're right there, right on the screen. You really believe what's happening. And look, that's exactly how it should be. Otherwise, it means you haven't fully adjusted your high frequencies, or there's something wrong with your room speakers. The next aspect you can evaluate here is the gunshots. Gunshots and long atmospheric sounds. When they're cut in, for example, into a car, you can hear the camera pulling back, and the chimes of the local town hall bells fly right over your head like this. They're really clear and impressive. Yes, ideally, they probably should sound a bit louder, but that's up to how the sound engineer heard it. Nevertheless, it's a really cool effect. You can really appreciate Dolby Atmos here. And when they're surrounded by those Spectre bandits, and they start shooting at them from all sides, just blasting their car, it's some kind of extravaganza. It's gunshots coming at you from 360 degrees all around. And these gunshots, sometimes when they show the machine gun up close, it gets much louder. The realism of how the sound moves with the shot, depending on where the action is shown from, is just phenomenal in this scene. I mean, it's just so. The sound designer paid such close attention to what was happening and to matching the sound with what we actually see on screen. Honestly, I can't recall this level of detail and care in sound design before. So, when the gunshots start, you really get it. You're watching them from the side, and it feels like you're one of those shooting. And of course, sometimes the gunshots are overwhelmingly loud, and you truly believe they're real. And poor James is sitting in the car. Thank goodness his car is bulletproof, and only his beloved is frightened, grabbing her head and begging him to do something. Then the main bandit comes out and starts firing single shots from his automatic weapon right at one spot on the side window. And here's another moment. Listen carefully just once to how the sound shifts when the shot changes. Here, he looks at the girl, then he looks at James, then the shot is shown again from outside. Notice how the ambience changes, how the frequency characteristics of the sound change, and how the location from which he's firing changes as well. So sometimes it's in front, boom boom boom, then on the right, boom boom boom, then from somewhere else, like the left or behind, he's firing. And all this time, in the background, you can also hear, most importantly, a deep bass hum from the car, so they didn't turn off the engine. You can hear the engine's hum. There's always this steady bass line going on. And this movement of the bass, from the front to the right, pay close attention to it. If you can hear it clearly, if you really feel like the knocking is in front of you, and then suddenly it starts knocking on the right. If you believe it, and those knocks sound very similar, then congratulations, your audio system is well calibrated. And all the fronts and surrounds are set up as accurately as possible. That's exactly how it is in our showroom. But I've heard this clip many times on other systems that are undertuned or poorly set up. And this effect just ruins the whole picture. When it's pounding properly in front of you, but on the right, something's just. Basically, there's just no bass. Because the surround isn't matched with the subwoofers. In other words, something's off there. Whether it's the delay, the tuning, or even the frequency response. Basically, anything could be wrong. But if you don't have that unified effect when the frame moves, you need to adjust and do something with your audio system. You need to achieve that moment when you're just. Everything is the same, the only thing that changes is the frame, and the sound simply starts coming from a different place. And then there's this cherry on top in the video, when Bond finally agrees to get out of the ambush. He pulls out the machine guns and cues up a Hans Zimmer track. And that's when we get both the bass and the orchestra. And all of this together, the gunfire going around in a circle in the Aston Martin, is just. At this moment, friends, you should already be completely immersed in what's happening on the screen. You should be there, right with them, right inside that Aston Martin. If you're not getting that effect, sorry, but you need to do something. You need to tune or change something in your home theater. Then, when they finally arrive at the station, you exhale, and you're so drawn in that you just want to watch the film to the very end. That's exactly the kind of effect you should strive for with any home theater, any home cinema, so that it just grabs you and doesn't let go, so you want to keep watching, on and on. And when suddenly the clip is interrupted, damn, you just want more. Let's move on to video number 5. Friends, I actually have another surprise for you. I've added 2 more bonus files for testing your Dolby Atmos system. You'll love it and be able to see just how accurately Dolby Atmos objects move around your home theater room. Enjoy. You'll never guess what video I have in 5th place. It's Bollywood. It's Indian. An Indian musical, a melodrama. Well, I think all their movies are basically musicals. It's called Bajirao Mastani. This is the scene where Mastani sings and dances. Well, as we all know, we call this track Devani or Devanita. That is, she repeats this word. Apparently, it means something in Indian. By the way, write in the comments what this word means and what she's trying to sing to her beloved. They dance, they spin around. But here, the sound, especially in the mid and high frequencies, is such that it's hard not to use it to demonstrate an audio system and, most importantly, to test your own audio system, as I say, for roughness or poor quality. If you have some cheap compression drivers, there's a chance it will be a bit painful for you to listen to how this beautiful Indian woman sings, all in gold, by the way. The picture is also phenomenal, but unfortunately it's in SDR. Even though it's 4K, it's still SDR. But here, the picture isn't the main thing. Of course, the sound is what matters most. The instruments, all these sitars, they're all so much in the upper register, recorded so brightly and with such detail, that if there's something wrong with your system, or if the tonal balance isn't well tuned, even just on the front channels, because, overall, there's really no Atmos here. It's mostly 5.1 or 7.1, even though it's recorded in Atmos. But the way it permeates you, it either makes you want to cover your ears, or you sit there and enjoy the purity. The purity of the sound, the purity of the signal path, of that upper female vocal, of those string instruments, the sitars. It's one or the other. There's no third option. You either want to turn it down and switch it off, or you listen and think, wow, the way the Indians record sound is amazing, and how beautifully this lady sings. And here, there's also bass. And if your audio system is really bad at low frequencies, you won't. You won't hear that kick drum. The kick is around 35 Hz, and it kind of keeps the rhythm going, boom, 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 very low. I remember when I was testing a Lindorff processor about 6 or 7 years ago in the old showroom, for some reason it just cut off everything below 35 Hz, and that kick drum simply disappeared. Since I know this track, I was like, what happened to the bass? Sorry, I had to check, and there really was a drop-off by default. Here, though, you get clarity, purity, and a test for roughness, harshness, or any kind of muddiness. If your system makes you not want to listen to this track, then you should think about changing something, tweaking something, maybe adjusting the upper chain to improve the sound, detail, naturalness, and overall pleasantness of the audio in your home theater. Well, now, friends, how can you actually get all these tracks and test everything I've said on your own audio system? It's very simple. And in a special one, in the post, which will be linked below this video, you need to write the magic code words. I want new videos, Anton. And in response, in those same comments, we'll send you a download link. Or we'll send it to you in a private message. In short, we'll send it to you one way or another, and you'll be able to download all these videos in their original quality, in 4K with Dolby Atmos. Or with the highest quality sound available there. And test your audio system. Be sure to give this video a like. I'm sure it was interesting and will be useful, especially when you download all these test tracks and play them on your home theater system. And of course, subscribe to the Blackroom channel, because only here will you find such cool and interesting content, and they even give away all sorts of goodies. To make sure you don't miss new videos, be sure to hit the bell. Come on, it's not that hard. Well, this was Anton with you, the founder of Blackroom. We'll definitely see each other in new videos, new clips, streams. Bye everyone.